The Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been actively boarding up storefronts over the past few days.
Is that a viable business strategy? Chicago board up? This is a local news report about a week before the Democratic National Convention in Chicago. I want you to notice how the business owners are reacting to a bunch of liberals in the same place who apparently don't agree with or acknowledge or believe in the rule of law.
Given the uncertainty surrounding next week's convention, businesses are taking steps to prevent potential threats to their property like looting or vandalism by adding protection.
We've had zero indication that there would be any protections down in the Loop.
That's why the owner of Sid Jerome Menswear is reinforcing his downtown store by covering up the windows with plywood in anticipation of possible civil unrest and violent protests that may come from the Democratic National Convention next week.
We know from past experiences that something could ensue, so we want to be proactive and get ahead of it.
All right, so I feel bad for that guy, but listen to the tone of his, well, I don't want to get canceled by the people on the internet by saying things that are obviously true. Hey, our city has been beset by rioters that you call protesters and say they're mostly peaceful, but they smashed all of our windows last time, so we're trying to get ahead of it. But he says it without saying, well, we're not sure that, things are going to stay. So we've had no assurance from anybody that any of this is going to stay safe. And for some reason, nobody's willing to say it out loud what they actually are meaning. They're just saying just kind of vague concerns around the DNC being in Chicago. Let's continue.
The men's clothing shop is located on Madison Street, which is down the block from City Hall and along the main route to the United Center, where significant gatherings are expected. The owner hopes these measures will be sufficient to prevent potential damages and avoid a repeat of past incidents.
We've been a victim on 4 separate occasions where we've been vandalized or looted for, various incidents or events that happened in the city.
They're not
Wait, I don't understand what the shying away from it is. Now, I guess I get it. The cancel culture mob will go and cancel this guy in his store if he says, yeah, it was the stinking BLM riots that you guys allowed to happen. That's what the problem was. 4 different occasions, we got our windows smashed, we got looted, we were vandalized. That is the problem that the Democrats have. They just endorse this stuff, and he's just not willing to say it. And again, I'm of two minds of this. This guy's trying to run a business. Unfortunately, his business was set up in the lawless hellhole that is Chicago. But he's trying to run a business, and he's got to, appease to the people in his area. At the same time, there's a thing that, I don't know. I'm not trying to tell him how to, live his life. But there's a component of dude, just say it. Say what it is. It was the stinking race riots that Democrat-run cities allowed to happen. Tim Walz's entire state of Minnesota allowed it to happen. Chicago under Lori Lightfoot and now under Brandon Johnson is just going to allow riots to happen, I guess, or at least that's what they're thinking. Yeah, what confidence should that guy have in the ability of the leadership of the city to not let his store burn down? But again, not saying it outright, fine, I'll say it.
Alone in their concerns, the Chicago Board of Services says their crews have been actively boarding up storefronts over the past few days to mitigate losses and destruction. So far, they've secured 12 locations around the West Loop, downtown, and Daly Center area, with plans to board up additional businesses this weekend.
We're not pushing it.
Wait. Sorry, and I know I keep stopping this, but is that a viable business strategy? Chicago board up? The mostly peaceful. You wouldn't think that there's a market for that in a mostly peaceful demonstration, but apparently there's enough of a market to where somebody started an entire business. Chicago board up. Maybe they also work in case a hurricane ever hits the area of Chicago. I'm just kidding. There's no hurricanes in Chicago. It's specifically for the rioting.
We're hoping that the city will be comfortable and there will be no unrest. But if you feel that you want your doors boarded, it's better to board them up than to wait and have to board them up and replace glass.
A spokesperson with the Chicago Loop Alliance indicates that they believe the convention will go off successfully without harming businesses and considers boarding up with plywood to be unnecessary, though they understand why business owners are taking these precautions. Mayor Brandon Johnson is also confident the DNC will proceed smoothly with the support of the Chicago Police Department.
But we're also coordinating with Secret Service and other local law enforcement agencies to ensure that we have a vibrant, safe, productive DNC.
The board up company says if businesses need something boarded up, they encourage them to do it ahead of the convention, but they say that crews will be available if they need something done next week. Reporting in the Loop, Andrea Medina, WGN.
Like, is no one on the lefty side willing to acknowledge or admit that, hey, maybe when our convention comes to town, maybe the attitude from the business owners shouldn't be, yeah, well, we probably have to board up because there's probably going to be looting and rioting because that's what liberal policies bring with them, especially when they don't believe in the rule of law, apparently. Maybe that's not a good look for the Democratic Party. Maybe somebody within the Democratic Party should be out in front of this and say, hey, this is a problem. Maybe we should all focus on the fact that business owners who, mind you, pay taxes don't feel safe enough to not board up their businesses. Whoever that was saying, well, we believe that companies and businesses don't need to do this. Okay, well, whatever your belief is, it's happening. And apparently the belief of all of the business owners, and I would be curious to see if the Chamber of Commerce of Chicago said anything about this, but apparently all of the business owners do not agree that, no, boarding up your business is overkill. Maybe that's part of the bigger problem that lefty policies have, is that nobody believes that you're going to do all of the things that you say you're going to do. And I know that's a bigger, expansive conversation about all of the other Santa Clausian government policies, but if they can't do the one thing that they're supposed to, which is protect the rights of citizens and citizens-owned businesses, so protect the businesses from being destroyed by other people, how are you going to get people to believe in all of the other crazy, outlandish policies that you're pushing? But again, conversation for a different time. I think the fact that business owners in Chicago have enough concern to warrant a company that boards up their businesses, and apparently that company can stay in business in the city of Chicago. Maybe that's something I should open up here in LA. Maybe I should open up a board up your business in case of rioters company. But the fact that that sort of business model is sustainable is a much bigger problem. But again, maybe they're concerned about hurricanes. Who knows? Because we won't say what is actually going on.